Welcome, KBOI 670 AM 93.1 FM. What is this, as you hear every week? The Great Idaho Show. This is Dylan Stalker, your multi-generational Idahoan, just trying to share with you what I think is great about Idaho. And if you don't think it's great, well, I'm sorry, I do. And I've been here a little bit. What I think is great about Idaho today is the Idaho Automatic Weapons Collectors Association. I can't think of anything more Idaho than that. So let's introduce our person of interest, David V. Nielsen, the president of the Idaho Automatic Weapons Collectors Association. But David, before I get to that, we've got to mention something else very Idaho. Old Arms of Idaho. They are your ambassadors to America's heritage. They are your firearms, Western, and military specialists. We deal in collections. We deal in the good old stuff, the good wood, blued, and metal, and machine guns. We're going to have a conversation about machine guns today with David V. Nielsen. David, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Dylan. Hello. Very nice to be here. Appreciate the invite. And yes, guns, guns, guns. And in our case, full auto guns.
Guns, 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 full auto guns. That's why you said guns 3 times in a row, because some of them come in a 3-round burst, you know, the old M4 carbine. And then I can't help it, but I'm in love with your radio voice, so you'll hear that here today. But it's like Vickers, Browning, HK, Steyr,
Beretta.
Go for it. List them. Come on. What's your
HK.
favorites?
Oh, you can't say. It's like having a kid. You can't say which kid is your favorite.
We don't have enough time in the day, do
that's
we?
Correct. That's
we
correct.
Got sub
it would
guns.
Be current favorite. Current favorite happens to be a Post 86 Glock 18.
Ooh, Post 86.
Unlike those selector switches that we find in certain urban areas, this is a factory.
The GADs or the GATs, the Glock auto device. But
we're getting ahead of ourselves.
We're getting ahead of ourselves because we're going to talk about the Idaho Automatic Weapons Collectors Association, which is, I believe, always correct me if I'm wrong because I'm often wrong, David, but it is the oldest firearms collectors association in Idaho, but maybe not the world. What's going on with that?
Well, and I don't have verification on this, but I think it is the oldest continuous one in the U.S. Years ago, I did some research on what clubs were still standing,
Sure.
And there are a couple of clubs that are similar vintage, but they don't have continue operations like we do. Yeah, we're in our 37 going on 38th year, founded in 1988. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about it, and let's also do the old tease. This is Radio 670 AM, 93.1 FM, the great KBOI, covering not just the Treasure Valley, but surrounding states, thanks to the wonderful transmission that we have here. How did this all come together, and how did you get associated?
Well, founded, like I said a minute ago, 1988. They originally had a total of 8 members.
Sure,
is where
founding
they started
members,
out. Right, you got it. And it still follows more or less the same concept from when it was founded, which was, it was a group of machine gun guys. Yes, it was all guys back then. We are not any longer.
There's been a few ladies involved. We met one just
over
the other
years,
day.
And I have, lady members right now too. It's not just all gun guys. If I use that phrase, It's incorrect. But founded back in 88, and it grew to, we are just under 100 members now. I don't know that it ever exceeded that. And that's paying dues members, so to speak.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people that attend events that are not formal members. One thing I want to emphasize throughout what I'm going to talk about here is we always are non-member friendly. Spectators are always welcome at our meetings, at our shooting events.
Yes.
We love to have spectators because that's part of our purpose.
And it's about education, right?
Yeah, swinging back around, the club was founded to promote NFA ownership, to promote education about NFA items, and we probably get into that
so
in a minute.
So I'm going to throw one out there. The National Firearms Act of 1928. We got radio listeners, lots of, folks that are just like, machine guns? You can own these things? And in our future segments, we're going to talk about that. But in this segment, we're still on how did this come about? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Do you want a quick shorthand on that? I can do a quick shorthand and we can reference it. And it would be great to go in further depth. But for purposes of our club, part of that is educating people about NFA. And NFA, National Firearms Act, came around in 1934.
Is it 34?
Yep,
I was wrong. See, you were supposed to correct me.
Yeah.
I told you that before the show.
But with 1934, that's when they regulated, and most people that know anything about machine guns, at least the capability to own them, know about the infamous $200 transfer tax. Well, in 1934, they regulated a group of firearms, including machine guns, saying that anytime they're going to be transferred or manufactured back in the day, you got to pay the $200. But the NFA, that's what we generally refer to when we're talking about these regulated weapons, Title II weapons. Don't get me going. It'll be a long time to talk about class versus title, but let's just say Title II or call them NFA. The club, IAWCA, Idaho Automatic Weapons Collector Association, per its title, was focused on machine gun people. And it was to promote it, to hold shooting events, and importantly, to educate people, just like you mentioned. I still get people, when we do our public displays, we have people all the time, what, you can own machine guns? Obviously, they weren't born and bred in Idaho. And that's part of the Valley these days, and we freely acknowledge that's part of our goal, and it's a very good goal. Hey, you need to know the law here. You can own these very entertaining and very collectible items. So if we're going a little bit deeper, NFA includes silencers or suppressors. A lot of people these days own silencers or suppressors. They're regulated in the same way as machine guns. Short barrel rifles, SBRs, SBSs, short barrel shotguns, things like destructive devices and AOWs, any other weapons, we can save them for a later day.
And so I'm going to plant one thought in that. We're talking about the machine gun, ladies and gentlemen. And we have a lot of things that we're talking about, the NFA, and things that we support majorly here in Idaho. The Idaho Automatic Weapons Collectors Association. Also, stay tuned, because there are many events that come up throughout the year that you can participate as a spectator, and you are going to see a historical representation of how these things operate and the people that engage with them, and David Nielsen being one of those. I'm so thankful for you are here today. Where does that leave me? What is the goal of Idaho Automatic Weapons Collectors Association?
Well, going back to that education, promotion, keep in mind that the club is comprised of both owners and non-owners. So we also have people that are licensed firearm dealers, licensed manufacturers. Okay. It's an interesting cross-section, and especially through the years. Like I said, 37 years so far and counting. And part of that promotion and education, we do public displays. I'll talk about that in a few more minutes if you'll let me. As well as we put on shooting matches and shooting events, about half a dozen, sometimes 8 or 10 of them a year. We also do some other things, such as support the civilian marksmanship program, which we can get into in a few minutes, as well as a big thing that we do is we hold monthly meetings. We're not just some static club that only meets once or twice a year. We do monthly meetings that are very well attended by both members and non-members to go through these various topics. Ownership, capability to buy, what it entails to purchase, as well as focusing on a lot on individual weapons, engineering, design. I get industry representatives, a real interesting cross-section out there.
Well, let me interject that, because I'm a participant. Obviously, Old Arms of Idaho, I am in love with all of this stuff. And once a month, every third Tuesday, now correct me along the way, David.
You are
the president.
So far.
Every third Tuesday, you can meet at the CASA. Every third Thursday, that's a different club. We'll talk about that later. But anyways, every third Thursday, you can meet at the Casa de Mexico.
Yeah, usually the Casa Mexico, which for those of you that don't know is in Boise, 10332 Fairview. A lot of people know it because it's the same strip mall that has Harbor Freight.
Absolutely. Great location.
In the corner. Yeah. They got a banquet room. I got to compliment them. Hopefully one of them is listening, because they've done outstanding.
They've been a great partner. And once a month, you can go in and you will get an educational display on the individual item itself. Last month being the Browning automatic rifle, the BAR, in a full educational on display of its origin, things to look at, what its manufactural differences are, what countries served them.
All sorts of people giving lectures.
Education.
And that's kind of my perspective. I joined the club, I don't know my exact date. I'd have to look at my records. It was either 1989 or 1990, and I've been a member ever since then. And I joined it primarily because a local firearms dealer, the one that I bought the weapon from,
of course,
said,
which was
Alex.
But no, the gun.
Oh, my very first one was an Uzi.
An Uzi. Okay, so we got about 30 seconds left. We're in radio land, David. I've got to manage some time here, and you and I could go on for days because I love the Idaho Automatic Weapons Collectors Association. And future segments, you'll get the website, you'll get the places that you can come participate, the events that you can go see, all of this on display in the greatest state and one of the greatest organizations. We're talking to David Nielsen, the president of the Idaho Automatic Weapons Collectors Association. This is Dylan Stalker, the Great Idaho Show. We will be right back when we talk a little bit about the history and the Idaho culture. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to ladies and gentlemen, folks. This is Dylan Stalker, the Great Idaho Show, welcoming you back on KBOI. This is me speaking to David Nielsen, the president of the Idaho Automatic Weapon Collectors Association. David, that was a fun segment. We got quite a bit going on around here in Idaho.
Yeah, and there's a lot to cover, too, when it comes to machine guns, the wonderful world of machine guns.
Can you own one?
Yes, you can. I say all, many people view it as some kind of insurmountable, but it's very easy. Those of you familiar with suppressors, same process.
Same process.
You got to do your form, what we call a Form 4. You got to submit fingerprints and photographs to the feds. Yes, you do. Those of you that don't like that, sorry, they already know who you are. That's what I tell people. What are you worried about? Come on.
Can you make one?
Not legally unless you are a licensed manufacturer. That's the big thing. So many people, they have this misunderstanding out there. You can make a non-machine gun firearm, but you cannot make a machine gun unless you are a licensed manufacturer. In other words, an FFL dealer. There
is a lot of machine guns that are out there that look like, feel like, weigh like, but they're semi-automatic.
Correct.
That's kind of a fun historical reference.
And that's one thing I would imagine that most of the folks listening to your show are aware, but we are talking about weapons capable of select fire.
Sure.
Keep in mind, some things like Gatling guns are not machine guns.
That's a crank fire, right?
Yeah, they are not select fire weapons. But we're talking about the weapons where you pull the trigger and you get more than one shot.
So you and I could get into a lot of technicalities because I am fully aware of all those wonderful little things, and so are you. But this is about the Idaho Automatic Weapons Collectors Association and how to participate. You guys do some events out there, don't you?
We do. We talked briefly about the monthly meetings that we hold. We do shooting matches. We do public displays, such as at gun shows. A big one that I want to reference more than one time during this discussion is our next big display is going to be out at the Warhawk Air Show, which is coming up on August 23rd and August 24th out at the Nampa Airport. We have a big display out there. They've been real good friends to us for years and years, and we have a lot of club members, a lot of weapons on display, a lot of knowledge, a lot of information. Also, it's a means to find out more about the club as a whole.
Well, so let me interject something there, David. This is a recorded program, and as you are hearing this, it is August 17th.
Oh,
you've only got a couple of days.
Yeah.
This is a great opportunity. The Warhawk Museum is one of the greatest displays of not just World War type history, but we're talking airplanes and the combination and aviation history as a whole. And, aviation history was often developed by the war machine, and the war machine included the war machines, the machine gun, and the Idaho Automatic Weapons Collectors Association is participating. Give some details.
Yeah, we have, like I said, a pretty extensive display, several hundred weapons in total, usually. A number of non-machine guns, but a lot of machine guns, and a very interesting cross-section, because by the time we get some of our members out there that have more extensive collections, we cover basically everything from World War I to modern times.
And that includes water-cooled machine guns, belt-fed machine guns,
submachine
guns.
submachine guns, other kind of more esoteric PDW, personal defense weapons, all sorts of little niches out there. And, a wonderful example of development history, not just the use, but the actual engineering and design history out there.
Well, I got to say, as the owner of my business, Old Arms of Idaho, it's not the fascination necessarily of the gun. It is about, to me, the development and the historical significance of how to get there when they started with protractors and math with these weird steam-driven belt machines turning chips up to the CNC today. I don't think a lot of people realize that the Industrial Revolution was largely centered around
to a large degree.
The whole point of firearms,
especially when you look at aspects like not just the engineering, but the metallurgy, and the manufacturing processes,
and the mistakes and the failures.
Well, and you can go all the way back to musket days,
right?
And, things like that. But in particular, when you're talking automatic weapons, when you start looking at, we got to start with Hiram Maxim, John Browning.
And by the way, the suppressor, thanks to Hiram Maxim. Thank you, Hiram.
Yeah, a lot of people don't recognize that too, speaking of NFA.
Yeah.
The whole Maxim origins there. But when you look at that history and that design and that development, also, especially from my perspective, and that's been a big aspect of my participation in the club and love of this organization, is having that capability, that literally tactile experience.
Hands-on.
And that's part of the ownership, joy, I will say. And I'm not implying that you have to be into the engineering to be a fan.
Yeah.
A lot of people just like the joy and the thrill of a full automatic weapon, don't get me wrong. But it seems like most of the people that once the bug has bitten them, it is on that historical aspect or that design and engineering aspect. And for a guy like me, endlessly fascinating. And
just getting one to work is fascinating. I legally, by the way, I was a manufacturer and built a MG-34 World War II machine gun in one night. I went and took the kit. There was a little bit of a learning curve on literally my kitchen table, and it's like you go to fire it the first day and it doesn't work.
Yeah, and the next thing you know, you're looking at old engineering drawings and you're reading anecdotal reports, and yes, that is a big aspect. Certainly for me, and I know a lot of club members that way. It's hard for me to express. I often do, of course, especially at these public events where I get the people coming up and I encourage them to come out to some of our fun shoots, for example, because the fun shoots, we have a broader display of weapons out there.
In use, by the way.
People have seen movies and, so much, especially for modern movies, give you some of them do, but the majority don't give you an accurate representation.
Yeah.
And when I think of watching old war movies when I was growing up as a kid, and then the first time I was actually behind a Browning belt fed or behind a Vickers, we were talking about engineering and design, and that's one aspect. But when you are behind there and that gun's going off, your appreciation of the history, the sacrifice,
the sound,
what these actual combatants engaged in, it's a whole nother reality. And that's a big part of the club to me. Owning them, shooting them, maintaining them. That's a big aspect of that interest in the collecting. Certainly for a guy like me, and I know a guy like you, and a lot of our club members. But I don't want to make it sound like you have to be a big collector.
No, it's about history. It's the interest. It's what's transpiring between the important individuals and what's happening. You have things like John Browning, who was the most impactful developer of lever action rifles and revolving basic things, and then you come out with a weapons platform, the Browning 1917, that's still essentially the same format, serves our U.S. military today in the advanced 1919 platform and the M2 Browning,
and then
Madus.
Then when you look back at that initial design where you had that little flapper and the lever mechanism to take the gas that was being expended, and that's how we first developed, here's how the weapon is going to cycle itself.
When he took a lever action machine gun and turned it into cycling itself.
Right, to go into the potato digger, that one that predated World War I, and then to come up with that design in 17. Yeah, it's for someone that's interested in mechanics and firearms history. Automatic weapons are a very rewarding niche.
And that niche has also supplied a lot of value to many other industries across America and the world, for that matter. We're talking to David Nielsen, the president of the Idaho Automatic Weapons Collectors Association. And throughout this program, you're going to hear some bits, some pieces of ways that you can too participate. And coming up on August 24th, David, give us some more details on the Warhawk.
Nampa Airport, they do a big air show. It's called the Warhawk Air Show, a 2-day event, definitely worth attending. If you haven't been to it, well, even if you have, you're going to want to come back.
Yeah.
And we are in one of the hangars. We have our club as a big display of weapons, many of them military
real
weapons.
Actual live ones too.
Real actually live guns. Obviously, we're not shooting at this event.
Or loaded, of course.
Yeah, of course not. But you can get a sense of our club. You can also, if you just want to come up and look at some of these weapons and talk to knowledgeable people that can explain how these weapons are designed, how they operate. One thing that I got to bring up, especially at Warhawk, is the endless fascination from the younger generation, the ones that have played Call of Duty.
Yes, thank you.
Have played other video games.
They've seen them all on TV, but now there's a real one sitting there.
Yes, and it is, for me, quite rewarding, number one, to see these kids cite statistics and information to me that I'm so pleased that they know
just
about
blew
these
me
items.
Away sometimes.
But also their eyes just go wide when they've got a real one sitting there right in front of them. As well as the other end of that spectrum, running into vets that come up and say, nowadays there are more Vietnam vets, but we used to get in years past, Korea and World War II vets, but a lot of Nam vets that'll come up and look at an M60 there and start telling us M60 stories. Or, they're just, oh my God.
They immediately step into that moment in time, don't they?
That show is a very good show. Out at the Nampa Airport, August 23rd and 24th, we're in one of the hangars. Just when you're looking around at all the static displays, come visit us.
The Warhawk Museum is a gem. Everybody should check it out. It is of a great value, of a slice of time in history that has kept us all here safe and Americans. Otherwise, we might be from another country if you watch all that World War II type stuff. This is Dylan Stalker, the Great Idaho Show. Coming into this next segment, based on what you just said, I have a personal little reflection there. We're talking to David Nielsen, the president of the Idaho Automatic Weapons Collectors Association, Iowaka. This is the Great Idaho Show. Thank you very much. Welcome back, KBOI 670 AM, 93.1 FM, the Treasure Valley. But not just that. Surrounding states even. This is a big signal here. We're talking to David Nielsen of the Idaho Automatic Weapons Collectors Association, one of the oldest gun collector clubs in Idaho, but not just that, machine guns. What a fun conversation. We have throughout all of this episode events that you can participate in. Coming up August 23rd, 24th, the Warhawk Museum in Nampa. If you haven't been to it, I mean, you've got to. Yeah. That's just
you keep
some
mentioning
time.
Museum, but you need to emphasize the air show. It's
the air show.
It's the 2-day air show.
Thank you.
Held at the museum.
Please, because we're going to see lots of very significant airplanes. I'm assuming the Dottie May will be flying through there, and lots of
it's a wonderful
B-17s.
Air show. Maybe not a 17. I haven't looked at the lineup, but they have P-40s.
P-51 Mustang.
P-40s, P-51s. They even get, I think it was an F-35 that comes up from Ogden that flies up here. A real nice historical cross-section, especially for an air show of this size, and a really entertaining static display, too.
And the Idaho Automatic Weapons Collectors Association is going to have its own static display of many significant machine guns of time.
Correct. And a pretty good cross-section of belt feds, assault rifles, a lot of submachine guns, of course.
So I got to tell you a quick story because this is about y'all, but I've got to say this. I participated in the last Gowan Thunder as a business, Old Arms of Idaho. Hey, don't forget that sponsor, Old Arms of Idaho, your ambassadors to America's heritage. We deal in all that good old stuff, especially those machine guns, because we have the license and we're the professionals of it. But we set up this display, and my display was a lot of display machine guns. I had a Colt M1928. I had a Danish Madsen. I had the Browning BAR training aid on display, and a couple of other ones. And just like you were saying, these young individuals who are playing Call of Duty or any of the other names that I couldn't even think of because I don't have time to play machine guns. This, I got to tell you, some 9-year-old kid walks up to me and goes, "That's a 1917. That's a Madsen."
They call
and
them out.
He called it out like, I'm like, where have you been all my life?
I've had them start quoting cyclic rates and weapon weights and all sorts of things, and they're just going after my own heart. You know, back in my day, I'm looking at these firearms reference manuals
books,
and encyclopedias, and here they are reading about all this data I gather from some type of reference guide that the games have.
Oh, sure.
And I invite them, and obviously their parents, you know, to come out to our fun shoots, because then they can actually be around them being used and develop that appreciation. You know.
Let's go into some of those fun shoots. You got something coming up in what, November?
We have a couple that are coming up here as we're nearing the end of the year. We have our submachine gun match. The club has been hosting a submachine gun, which is a competition-style match. Now we're going into our 37th annual machine gun match.
Oh, that's a legacy.
Which is going to take place in September 20th, multiple stages, mainly steel targets, but there will be other type of targets out there as well. And then our last event of the year, shooting-wise, is our Pumpkin Fun Shoot, which is it'll be held that Saturday after Halloween. As you can imagine, pumpkins go down in price
pumpkins,
after Halloween.
Blow them up.
They make great reactive
shoot them into
targets. We also generally put out some bigger targets like automobiles and things like that downrange. So watch where you park if you're a spectator. But in any event, our Pumpkin Fun Shoot, that'll be on November the 1st. Our shoots take place at the Parma Rod and Gun Club.
Thank you for saying that.
A great supporter. And we've been out there for literally decades. For those of you that don't know, 1420 Boheme Lane, Parma. Basically, you head out on 84, and what is that? Exit Route 20, go to Notice, Parma. You got to drive past, and for those of you who don't know, the Parma Drive-In
be a little adventurous. You'll find the range out there. There's two ways in there. Don't take the other way. Don't know what I'm saying.
Boheme Road. But anyways, come out to Parma. Once more, spectators free. We don't charge for people to spectate. If you're a member and you want to shoot, it's a little cheaper than if you're a non-member. But Parma Gun Range, our next event is September the 20th, and then we have our fun shoot, which we generally get a fair amount of spectators, which will be November the 1st. Now, annually, a big one that we have also out of Parma is January. In January, we hold a tracer shoot. Taking place at nighttime. Obviously, you got to dress appropriately.
It gets a little cold sometimes out there. This is Idaho. Welcome to the Great Idaho Show.
Middle of the desert at nighttime in January, but we do a pretty good incendiary tracer display at that time. That's where the pyrotechnics are very entertaining. That's a big one. And we do a spring fun shoot, which is similar to the pumpkin shoot, but without pumpkins, of course, which usually takes place in March.
Some reactive targets, some stuff to get out there and have some fun
with. And then
with.
Throughout the year, we have various matches. The subgun match is our biggest annual competition style match, but we also do assault rifle matches, what we call battle rifles.
Yeah.
We do some suppressed matches.
That's a little bit in support of the CMP, the Civilian Marksmanship Program. Not registered stuff, but the idea is the same, right?
Correct.
We're trying to get the everyday person the ability to come out and engage with the tools that kept our freedom. Thank you very much.
That's right. And the crew serve matches. We don't do a crew serve match every year. It kind of depends on interest of the members. But that's pretty fun.
That's worth a watch. I mean, you've got a belt-fed machine gun with a mount that two people have to start from scratch, go set up, and get operating, complete the match. And I mean, that's a full active thing.
Then we do fun things like add defensive elements where part of your crew has to engage with their submachine gun, closer in targets, those kind of things.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the crew serve matches are very entertaining.
That's a special time.
Once more, though, if John Q. Public, if you're thinking about coming out, I would definitely recommend coming out to our pumpkin shoot.
So let's get the website out there, because this radio program, which will be at thegreatidahoshow.com, if you heard this and forgot about it, it will also be on YouTube. You can hear about all of this. But if you just want to go straight to the calendar, find out where the matches are, what's the website?
iawca.org. Obviously, www.iawca, but we're a .org. A lot of people, I don't know if they know when they're typing them in, but
sure.
We're a .org.
Idaho Automatic Weapons Collectors Association, acronym .org. IAWCA.org.
Yeah,
there is a calendar there. You'll have all the fun shoots. You got to come out, ladies and gentlemen. Let me add some stuff there. We are talking about the machine gun, but there's submachine guns and belt-fed machine guns, assault rifles that can be select fire. But every once in a while, a 20 millimeter Lottie will come out, or a 37 millimeter anti-tank gun cannon. A tank buster will come out.
We have Orlikons, which are the full auto 20 millimeter cannons. Things of that nature. 50s show up. We got club members that are 50 cal owners. I'm referring to the 50 cal.
Well, that would
Browning.
be to what some people out there have marked on their vehicles, M2HB. I don't know who that is.
Some people have that.
But, that is the firearm that saved this earth and has yet to be
still
defeated.
In use, I'm proud to say.
So, again, Dylan Stalker here, The Great Idaho Show, talking to David Nielsen, the Idaho Automatic Weapons Collectors Association. The reality is a lot of fun, a lot of reflection on the tools that people take to war. You were talking about people that haven't had a chance to hold one in a while and they get to see one. I was very good friends with a gentleman by the name of David Lindsay, who has passed, and I am sorry to say, who was a colonel in the military, multiple Purple Heart
I knew
Award,
Mr. Lindsay. I met him many times. And a person that's achieved many Bronze Stars. I mean, this is a person that has been there and done that. And in Vietnam, he carried an M1A1 Thompson submachine gun, which I had happened to be lucky enough to legally build here in the great America. And I never forget handing it to him and giving him a chance to go back to those days when he carried one of those in Vietnam. We're talking about World War II technology, and they were still out there, and just seeing him look at it. His eyes light up.
And he would he turned it over 360 degrees, and I gave him like 3 mags. And thankfully, it was one that I built that did work, because most of them didn't. And it was just a crazy moment in time for me.
Well, and one of our club members at the last monthly meeting, I'll remind people of that, third Thursday out at Casa, Mexico. Yep. One of the club members in a recent discussion reminded me of a Warhawk event where he had a gentleman that fielded a BAR in World War II come up, and unfortunately, given his age, he wasn't quite of the same build.
It's a pretty heavy gun there.
Exactly what he was, the age of 19 or whatever, and to see his reaction in his eyes, to just put his hands back on that same firearm, well, not the same one, but the same type of firearm. That's a reward as a collector that just can't be beat, quite frankly, watching people light up that way, which in a more general sense, part of this club, having people come out to a shoot or just in a private shooting session, allow someone to fire a machine gun. It's amazing the smile effect that you get. Most people can imagine the how shall we say, the not just tactile, but the return, the visceral thrill you get from shooting full auto. But, to see that response, and that's part of the club, part of the club is generating that interest.
Yeah.
A lot of people like you started out at the beginning of this. A lot of people still don't realize, they generally do if they're in Idaho, but, many people coming here fresh from a new state, a non-firearms friendly state, don't realize you can own them. Idaho doesn't restrict them. The only
and you can in most states across the country, by the way, with a few exceptions out there, and most of them just moved here from there, and we won't get into that. Yeah. But
that's part of the directive of our club is to educate people in that.
And let me clarify that it's the education of the historical significance,
NFA,
and about the
legislation,
the creation of, and about the legislation. How can we legally do this? Be responsible and cherish that bit
and
of history.
Preserve this legacy.
I mean, in 10 years from now, we'll probably be using lasers, and this will be like a scene out of Demolition Man or something.
It's hard to imagine a Thompson ever going out of favor.
I mean, I can't think of any greater piston-operated machine ever.
I could tell you a story. I was involved over the years. I've assisted a number of friends in training their children, giving them initial firearms training and that. And after one session at the end of the day, I decided, okay, let me pull out something with a little more entertainment value. And that was an Uzi. And I will freely admit that the mom wasn't the most she was firearms friendly, not opposed
cute,
out
I guess.
and out.
I don't know.
And by the end of the day, after her doing full mag dumps with the Uzi, was handing the weapon back to me going, take that away from me. It's too much fun. It's too much fun.
I mean, the FBI carried these things in the 80s, right?
Her response go from a little bit of a grimace to just a smile ear to ear. And again, that's just a fun aspect of this.
Well, again, we're talking to David Nielsen, the president of the Idaho Automatic Weapons Collectors Association. This is about education, our abilities to own, appreciate, and engage with the tools that have essentially kept our freedom and continue to keep our freedom, because when they talk about boots on the ground, there is one major tool that boots on the ground carries, and that's a major political subject. Nothing political here at all. This is about history, good fun, your ability to go to some events, see it happen. We'll keep reminding you of these events, but don't forget Idaho Automatic Weapons Collectors Association, or the IAWCA.org to look at the calendar.
Yeah, remember the .org.
We'll be
you
right
can find
back.
our calendar.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Dylan Stalker, The Great Idaho Show, sponsored by Old Arms of Idaho.
Just how old is Old Arms?
Well, how old? I mean, I've got bat flaps hanging off of these arms here. You know what I'm talking about. Old Arms of Idaho, the ambassadors to America's heritage, the 24-hour gun show. We are talking to David Nielsen of the Idaho Automatic Weapons Collectors Association, the president, and I can't think of a greater
president. There's been 12 of us through the years. I actually lay claim to the longest tenure. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, I think you're a great guide.
Well,
I mean, I would like to add that in previous segments, we were talking about that every third Thursday you can go and participate in a monthly meeting where the members of the club will put on as much as an hour-long historical
Don't drive
information.
Them away. Sometimes, usually they're shorter than an hour.
You get dinner, you can have a sodie or something else if you want to. Don't discount yourself.
People don't like the idea of hour-long lectures.
Well, if you're interested in, say, the last session, the BAR, it was very interesting.
Obvious. We got to do club business. We talk about upcoming events. We have to marshal our assets and the troops, so to speak.
Do you see what's happening here, ladies and gentlemen? We're on my radio program, and the president of the gun club knows how to run this stuff.
That's right.
Just like a professional event that
or like a good belt-fed.
Good belt-fed machine gun. He's running it. We have some other things that you would like to talk about. Tell me one of those.
I definitely want to mention CMP, Civilian Marksmanship Program. We are one of the sponsors of the local CMP.
Okay.
Those events take place out at Blacks Creek.
Okay, a great range, by the way.
We do them in the summer months on the first Tuesday. So by the time this show airs, it sounds like this is going to be a little bit later in August.
Yeah.
So you'll only
August
have
17th
September.
is what you're listening to today.
It's the first Tuesday, so it would be in September. For those of you that don't know, CMP is the program where you use U.S. service rifles. You do 3 type of position shooting. Standing, kneeling, and prone. You use things like AR-15s, M1 Garands, M1As, even M1 carbines.
Military service
You got
weapons.
It.
Yep.
Slow and rapid fire.
Yep.
It's a great program. Been around for decades. Also, when you shoot in the matches, it allows you to legally potentially buy a CMP service rifle.
An M1 Grand.
They still have them for sale.
An M1 carbine.
Yeah.
Do they still have the M1 carbine? You can buy the 1911 now, can't you?
It's kind of luck of the draw. It's kind of luck of the draw what they have available, but stuff is still being released. So if you're interested, go out to Blacks Creek. That would be on September the 2nd, 5:30 for a setup. 6 o'clock is when it starts. Also, we do use iawcacmp@gmail.com for the gentlemen in our club. Say hello to John from me.
John, thank you.
He's the one that runs the club, and it's a lot of work to run these matches. It's very good, very educational if you want to learn how to use your Garand or even just shoot better with your AR.
Sure.
Years ago I shot it, and it's basically battle rifle. The U.S. battle rifles. You can even bring out an 03A3 if you want to. You'll give yourself a definite challenge. Most people use semi-automatic weapons.
Yeah, they're stepping into the
rapid fire becomes a bit of an
bolt
issue.
gun to the old cycle one every time.
But yeah, I definitely wanted to mention CMP. That's an important aspect of our club activities.
Well, so I would like to highlight something too, David, because we're talking about the legalities of the National Firearms Act, which you will all hear as NFA, right? And that's a very large piece of legislation that happened decades ago that regulated all of these items that we're talking about today.
Recently undergoing change. Change starting January of next year.
No more $200.
Only for suppressors, SBSs, short barrel shotguns, and SBRs. You're still going to have the $200 on machine guns, which relative to the price of machine guns is not a very large expense. Suppressors, it's extremely important.
Well, so please allow me, if you will, David V. Nielsen Law. David is an attorney
bringing up my other job.
I'm bringing out something that you are very effective at, and that comes into estates, gun trusts, the concept of gun trusts, and how to acquire this stuff. What do you do with this stuff if something happens? 208-336-5525.
Why, thank you, sir.
I know that phone number because I get counsel from you all the time in all of this.
As well. Yes.
And this is the Great Idaho Show. The reason why you're talking to David is because I'm a multi-generational Idahoan that knows what I believe to be great about Idaho. Idaho Automatic Weapons Collectors Association. That is great about Idaho. And the people that support it, I'm going to support them too. David V. Nielsen Law. We're talking about excellent counsel in estates. He wasn't expecting that one.
No,
it's not like he was wondering. We were talking about the IAWCA.org and the great events that we can go participate in.
Yeah, come to our pumpkin shoot. Tracer in January. You'll have to go to the website. Oh, it's good.
It's a spectacle.
It's good.
It's fun.
Yeah. And,
so plan for that. That's usually somewhere February, January.
January, usually third, maybe the fourth week of January.
Put your heated onesie on and bring your hearing and eye protection. Don't forget that. That's a pretty big one.
Yeah, we have a pretty good noise factor out there. So yeah, ear protection is mandatory. But coming up sooner, come to the pumpkin shoot. Like I said, spectators are welcome. No charge to spectate. It's a fun event. Wonderful cross section of weapons usually show up. If you ever want to have seen a real belt fed operating,
absolutely,
Maxims, Vickers, Brownings. Even some more modern stuff. Yours truly, PKM.
Yep.
For those of you in the know, probably
PKM. You're throwing out that young kid stuff, man. They'll be coming like the children of the corn or something.
One right now over in Europe and Ukraine on both sides of the equation. And that's, historically, my goodness, the stuff we've been seeing out of Ukraine, they're pulling out old Maxims from World War I issue.
Don't we have a club member that always brings a Colt 1928 Argentine, which is one of the finest water cooled that was ever built using nickel plated internals.
Oh my goodness,
and to the highest grade made by Colt. Colt didn't mess around, and it seems to run just about every dang time.
Yep.
You can see them on their mounts. You can imagine what it was like to be the person having to carry that.
It gives you an appreciation that if you've been in the military, that's one thing. You've probably been around that kind of action. Although I met a lot of service people that haven't had much experience behind full autos. But if you haven't been in the military as a civilian, it gives you a whole new appreciation for the reality of what these weapons are capable of doing.
And in the tracer shoot, iawca.org, look for that calendar date. Come out to Parma. Come and be a spectator. Check it out. It would be very interesting to see how many different colors of tracer exists. Right?
Green,
people have this one
red,
concept.
Yeah, those are the two primary ones out there.
All the way down to 22 long rifle with things that are just really fast.
We get the cross section.
I remember down when it was at Blacks Creek, a gentleman set up 2 dueling MG42s. We're talking 2 firearms together that shoot 1,500 rounds a minute.
And you got a pair of them.
All in pair, it's a lot of fun.
One of our club members, we got some spectacular collections, some of the best in the nation.
Significant, by the way, historically significant
definitely. Stuff. And a couple of our members have more than one. I know you're familiar. Some of the listeners might be familiar with a lesser-known German machine gun of World War II, the MG15.
Oh yeah,
which has an amazing cyclic
drum-fed 75 rounds, and
we get a pair of them mounted up together, and it's quite the display. When they're going off.
So it's a great engagement. Yeah. I think what's come of this show, we come with this plan of what we're going to talk about, David.
And we're going to go off the rails.
But here's the rails that we are on. There is many ways to engage with the Idaho Automatic Weapons Collectors Association every third Thursday, generally at the Casa Mexico out by Harbor Freight on Fairview. And you can come have dinner and get a great educational display.
Sorry, the club doesn't have that level of resources, just so you know. We're not buying you dinner.
Yeah, you're not buying. Thank you for clarifying. That's the David and David being
just like supplying
an attorney,
your own
you know
ammunition.
what I'm saying? But yes, please supply your own ammunition for your future ammunition. But also,
or you can buy from Old Arms of Idaho.
Please, oldarmsofidaho.com, your ambassadors to America's heritage. David's helping me here in my own radio program that I'm not a professional of because I don't get paid for this. But again, that pumpkin shoot that comes up around the Halloween time frame, and it is something, but let me remind you all, bring your eye protection and your own ear protection because we are safe
mandatory.
Here. You're going to see a lot of orange buttons out there that say safe. And what does that mean? These things were inspected. We had a meeting.
We
talked about safety. We have officers. This isn't just a fly-by-night thing here.
Yeah, it's not just like going out to the desert and blowing something up. Yeah. Even though we are out in the desert,
even though the occasional person on a motorcycle is running by, not even paying attention.
It's organized. It's
very well organized by some of the most intelligent and fun and interesting people I've ever met in my life. This is Dylan Stalker. We've got about 20 seconds left here, David. This has been a great show.
IAWCA.org.
IAWCA.org.
Come to a monthly or come to our pumpkin shoot. Dylan,
come to the monthly or the pumpkin shoot. I'm so thankful for that you came in today. It is worth your time. Don't forget that Warhawk, August 23rd, August 24th.
Out at the Nampa Airport.
TheGreatIdahoShow.com. Thank you, KBOI.